and welcome to Fiber Trek. Today is May 27th, 2014. This is episode 9. And I get to say we this time because Morgan's actually joining me, and it's not the royal we, although we could be royal sometimes.
Oh, yes.
So, we are so happy that you decided to come back if you're a returning viewer, and if you're just tuning in for the first time, well, I hope you stick around for the whole thing, because we get a little warm up. We get a warm up.
We do.
So just bear with us for the first few seconds, and hopefully you'll want to go to the end. So, which obviously can't come fast enough right now. So, so today we are going to cover a couple different topics. We're going to do our general welcome, and we have a prize drawing to do. Which is really quite funny and a little bit silly because I think only 9 people entered. But you know what? Rah for us. Like, odds are good in this particular Ravelry group because when you enter a contest, not many people do. Excellent. Which means you have higher odds of winning.
Excellent.
So we'll do another one. And we're going to do... I have agenda written here, which is so funny because I work with kids all day long, and I know, and I've learned this through many years of teaching, that the first thing you do when you work with any group that you bring in is you give them their agenda. And the 2 most important things are, when are we going to eat and when can I use the bathroom? So you don't need to use the bathroom and you can eat whenever you want. But I'm going to make sure that I go through what we're going to cover today. And hopefully some of that is appealing to you. I feel like a little bit silly, but we're going to push.
I think it's great.
We're going to go. Yeah.
Thanks. I feel silly too.
So we're going to do works in progress and finished objects. Got some finished objects right here. We decided to wear them because we are just that geeky.
Yep.
We are going to cover, I know I love that I need notes and I have like 4 things. Acquisitions and discoveries. I'm going to put a little hiatus on Textiles in Time. I'll cover that next week. Excuse me. Morgan is going to do the Mega Fauna Minute with Morgan. So awesome. Great name. We had talked about predator-friendly yarns 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And we had a little interest about coyotes and some of the political experiences that we have here in Maine with the wildlife. And so Morgan's going to cover the some of that topic for you, which is actually quite interesting. So we're psyched about that.
I am.
Yeah, you should be.
I love sharing information.
I know. So can I say that on here that you're the interpreting specialist? Morgan has a degree in
wildlife ecology.
Wildlife ecology from the University of Maine. So,
and I hold an environmental profession.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, environmental profession.
I'm in the environmental field,
and it's not the CIA or anything secretive like that. We just don't want to cross boundaries.
Yeah.
So, so she's going to cover some information about that, and then we are going to do Fiber Trek, just a quick update. I have a shoot coming up this weekend, and then I've got a couple things. I'm going to an event. I want to give some highlights about that. I've been tuning into some new podcasts and some blasts from the past, if you will, and a fond farewell. So we'll get started. Thank you so much for everybody who's been commenting in the threads on our board on Ravelry. And I've also received a number of messages on Facebook, which have been really fun. And while, I mean, for some people, maybe receiving a comment on their board may not be that exciting, it's very exciting for me on my board. I get up in the morning and I typically check Rav with my coffee. And I just love having a connection to something outside my little Northwoods realm here. So it's they're relevant comments, they're thoughtful comments, and I like that it sets the tone for my day. And typically throughout my day, I think about what people have said or what they've shared. Most notably, actually I can't even say that because the Island Wool Knit Along chatter has been very interesting, and so has the comments on the episodes, especially, I said that word again, especially about the textiles in time, like when you would like to go back or what you might be interested in. I've been thinking about that a lot during the day. Not that I'm not thinking about the little children I'm guiding, but when I have a moment to wonder, then that's where I go. So thank you so much for taking the time to comment or offer something out there for me to consider, or everyone to consider for that matter. We had a contest from the re-entry, which was my Post Maryland Sheep and Wool episode, and I had stitch markers to give away, which I have right here. I feel like that magician when he's looking for
Bag
the
of
rabbit, and it's like, psh. Ah, they're right here. These are from Blue Dog Woolies, and she's out of Portland, Maine. And the winner of these is Jay Coop. I did the random number generator off camera, who I believe is Jan, was the winner. So these are going out to you, Jan, and I will PM you on Rav, or if you watch this before I get a chance to do that, you can go ahead and give me a message, and we'll coordinate a little mailing. So well done. That's the big excitement.
Yeah.
We need to come up with something bigger than that when people win something.
What, like a
I don't know. Maybe we should
hooray?
get a horn or huzzah or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I could get behind a huzzah.
I teach all of my kids to huzzah when we're outside. They like
behind that.
and they like what they hear from me, or like they enjoy what they're doing. I ask them all to huzzah. So yeah. So well done.
Well done, you.
Well done, you. All right. That is the winner, and the only other prize where you can hedge your bets thread going is the Island Wool Knit Along. And we've had a little bit of chatter in there, seen some beautiful projects going underway, some beautiful shield maidens, some really interesting fleeces. I believe we had a hand-spun Gotland hat that went in there, and just some gorgeous stuff coming down the pike, and it's really exciting. I have nothing for down the pike. It'll probably bleed into all of our other elements here, which is typically what I find. So down the pike is usually reserved for other happenings in my neck of the woods during the week, but really most of everything that I experience can be reconnected with a project or an experience I've had with Morgan or something like that. So I'm just going to kind of toss that right out the window.
Okay.
And enough of that. Let's go right into the knitting.
Okay. What do you want to?
I want to do works in progress and finished objects.
All
I'll
right.
start. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you should.
I'll start. Morgan's working on getting her cast on organized. So, as some of you may know, I finished the Rhoda Brioche Cowl by Mercedes Tarosevich Clark. I love this pattern. And who knew that I would be a brioche lover? Because
I didn't, and I was there for the beginning.
I know. Wasn't pretty in the beginning.
It wasn't. It was a lot of talking to yourself out loud.
There may have actually been some sailor words.
Many.
Yes.
There were, I feel like, for the whole evening, all I heard out of your mouth was brioche, knit one.
Brioche, yeah.
Brioche
it was
knit
a
one.
lot of meditative behavior.
But I feel like then you cruised.
I did. Once I figured it out, this was a really new technique for me. And I'm not really one to shy away. If I see something I like, I'll just do it and I'll figure it out. And I've been a self-taught knitter. I've never taken a class. And what that usually stems from is some very well-written instructions. And this pattern was very well written. I had to do a little bit of back research, but not much. And this was my final product. Sorry, Morgan.
No, I'm sorry.
And this is Knitted Wit. And this is the Black Forest and Salted Caramel colorway. The salted caramel being the yellow, of course. If you haven't done brioche, it really isn't anything to be intimidated. And I know she has a class on Craftsy that you can take if that's something you're interested in doing. But this was literally my first time ever doing brioche. And I did 2-color. And I'm in love with it. And I just think it's architecturally and like, I don't know why I just chose that word.
It's satisfying to the eye.
Yeah, there's something, like it's not too over the top, but it has enough interest to make it not gray. You know how much I love gray. So, that's my finished object. And my people, I am so close to being finished with the Burnham Wood Capelet.
Woo.
And instead of showing you where I am on the actual project, I thought I would show you the number of repeats. I'm almost done. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Do you see that right there? That says 8. And I'm almost done 7, and then I get to cross it off, and then I get to go to 8, and that is the last repeat.
Good for you.
It will be done.
Celebration.
We are going to celebrate because it's going to be so beautiful. The garment's going to be so beautiful. But holy smokes, bat dog, so long. So the Rhoda Brioche Cowl I knit on a US 4. That's 1 needle size above the recommended needle size, which is also a 3.25 millimeter. And it is a very stretchy fabric. That's what brioche is kind of known for, because you have a lot of stitch work in between, or a lot of yarn in between, but I am a tight knitter, so I was able to go up 1 stitch size. So that being said, I had a little bit of a snafu this weekend with a project I started with Titus yarn, which is a Wensleydale alpaca yarn from Ba Ran Yu. And I attempted to start Stephen West Daybreak, and Morgan did see me on Sunday. It was a little bit of a blethering, nightmare. And I had cast on for this project like 4 times, and I just couldn't make the yarn work for what I wanted. I had a lot of problems with the elasticity of the yarn. Wensleydale, of course, being a long wool with not a lot of elasticity, so we're really more relying on some of the alpaca to give it a bit of drape and bounce. They're both kind of they don't necessarily lend themselves to being able to block and stretch, and I don't know, I'm maybe totally making that up and pulling it out of the proverbial cake hole, but I just couldn't get it to do what I wanted, so I have put that away. And I really do want to do Daybreak with those 2 yarns. I think I just need to come back to it. A lot of people had recommended on Rav that you do a yarn over. You have 2 edge stitching stitches, which are in garter, and they recommended, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, turn your work, knit 1, drop the yarn over, knit 1. And I just didn't like the way that edging was coming out. And I think that's probably a testament to my anal retentiveness, that I want things to look neat and have neat edges, and I couldn't control that tension on that edge, and that really made me mad. I stopped knitting for I just couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't know what to do from there. I was kind of paralyzed. So I went to sleep, and I asked the great universe, the stars, what would be a good project. And that's actually a good practice if you're having trouble with certain things, to ask the question before you go to sleep. And typically in the morning, things should be pretty clear. Your intuition should have an answer for you. My answer ended up being the Brush Creek Cowlet. I did that right.
Yes,
sometimes Morgan and I screw that up. And we forget the R in the word brush. And then we laugh.
Yes, we do.
So I cast on with yarn that my husband got me for my birthday. This is Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is the recommended yarn for the project. This is in plum. And here it is. You start out similarly to the Daybreak, which is ironic. But this yarn, because of its woolen spun Targhee Columbia roots, has a lot of stretch. I took a clue from another Ravelry user on the Daybreak. Sorry, Shield Maiden is deciding to have a barkathon. So instead of doing the garter tab cast on, which is recommended, I actually just cable casted on 7 stitches and then knit a row and then went right into the setup row. And it's worked great and looks beautiful. So I'm getting ready to join this in the round and then knit down, and of course it will go from that color to, I think that's plum, this is thistle, and that's blanket forte. Those are kind of representative well. So it's a gradient. I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be a quick knit, and then this is kind of a palette cleanser from some of the other projects. The brioche was a little bit thoughtful. This isn't so much. And then I'll be casting on for a sweater. So I'll finish that capelet, finish this cowlet, I'll cast on a sweater, and I'll cast on a lace project. That's my kind of plan for the summer. So Brush Creek Cowlet, Karina Spencer. I'm knitting it on size 7, 4.5 millimeter. I did go up 2 needle sizes. And this is a Targhee Columbia blend. And I think that's it. Is that it? That's all. That's all it's on my needles. That's all it's on. Yeah, that's all I can handle after my daybreak
Fiasco.
Breakdown.
Your day breakdown.
Yeah, my day breakdown. So, Morgan.
So, me. I finished the Guernsey Triangle.
I know you were a speedy knitter.
I am. I haven't blocked it yet, but not stopping me from wearing it.
No, as it shouldn't.
So I knit the Guernsey Triangle by Jared Flood. There it is. I knit the small triangle, and it's with Brooklyn Tweed Loft.
Same as
the yarn
the
you're using
Brush
for
Creek
the
Kellet.
Brush Creek Kellet. I was gonna say the yarn you're using for the Guernsey triangle. So I finished it. I knit it on 4s, US 4s, which is the recommended. The yarn was the recommended yarn.
Yep.
Buy the book on this one. Couldn't be happier. So nice.
And lots of compliments.
Lots of compliments. I love it.
That's why we really wear the knitwear.
It really is. I like it because I can get away with it with my flannels.
Yeah.
Wear it with my long sleeve regular shirts. Wear it with a nice shirt. It's just one of those all around top
It's a go-to, yeah.
accessories.
It's a go-to piece.
It is a go-to piece. Love it. Definitely gonna knit it again in maybe a color. Maybe green, I think is what we were
Would you
thinking.
do the Loft again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Loft
like
is a nice yarn.
I like it. It feels nice.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've talked about Loft before, or Shelter and Loft before on the podcast. It's not a yarn that, this isn't something you're going to take on an expedition to Antarctica or the Yukon. It's a woolen spun yarn. It's woolen spun from a shorter fiber. But man, it's
just
buttery.
feels so
it's
nice.
lovely. And you should have something like that around your neck. So
Heck yeah.
it's definitely a conscious choice. I already broke my yarn on the cowlet.
I broke this once.
But I was able to splice that back together, so. And I did use my own spit.
There you go.
That's how we roll in this
That
house.
is just a little bit more of you put in.
Yeah, that's right.
Chocolate.
It's truly handmade. It's mine. Don't touch it.
I spit on that. Do you want it?
Works with the kids.
It does. So that is my finished object. And then for On the Needles, I am still working on the Sullivan cardigan.
I'm like, what is it?
By Whitney Gregg Harrison. And I have finished the body up until the bust, and I just finished my first sleeve. I cranked this out almost yesterday, the whole thing yesterday. So I'm hoping to get the second one done by maybe the end of next weekend, and then maybe the sweater done by the weekend after that.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, maybe. That's my hope. And then after that gets done, I really want to crank that out and get it done without starting something new. But after I do finish that, I want to start Piper's Journey as a birthday gift for my mom. And I want to do the Brush Creek Kellet for the Island Wool Knit Along, which I really need to start.
You need to catch that on because the Island Wool Knit Along, and I was going to talk about this at the end, but since you've brought it up.
I have brought it up.
The Island Wool Knit Along will run to the end of June, the last day of June, I believe. And the only stipulation is that whatever you do, and I've been pretty lenient, I say that like somehow I'm the headmistress of the knit along.
I've been lenient with you.
Yeah, but really, I mean, I guess the rules are loose in that the only thing that it needs to happen is that the wool you knit with is or originates with an island breed. So I think people are weaving. Stashless podcast is weaving for it, which is great. We have another gal who's spinning Icelandic wool and knitting a hat. It's just, I mean, it's all grays and palettes of charcoals and grays. Perfect. It's perfection.
Mine's gonna have a little bit of color.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
excited.
Thank God. So the Island Wool Knit Along does end at the end of June, and there is a chatter thread and a finished object thread. Feel free to post. You can also, if you're on Instagram and you follow us, you can, or follow me. Sorry about the royal piece. I don't know why I do that, the us and the we.
Fiber Trek is
growing
into its own.
It is. And it includes Tyler as well, so I think I'm also thinking of him.
The us is okay.
Yeah. So you can also do, it's 8 o'clock. That's the time it always dings when we're recording. You can also hashtag Island Wool KAL on Instagram if you're taking pictures of your stuff, should you choose to do that. And I may run that across the bottom of the...
Maybe I'll get an Instagram just for this.
I think you should. So, anything else?
No, it's unfortunate, but
So sorry.
it's okay. I've been working in my garden.
Yeah, you have. You've been outside. The
And
black
I'm-
flies are hideous
They're
right
here.
now.
I got my first bite on my lower
I have
back
a bite here.
today.
Awful.
It is.
I took a group, this is a little down the pike bleed, but I took a group of fourth graders hiking today. I set the new land race fourth grade hiking record for the Twin Pines ski trails because we did not stop moving, and we had kids that, you know, this isn't really their routine to be outside and hiking, and literally, like, we covered 3 miles in like 45 minutes.
That's excellent.
It was probably longer than that, but nobody wanted to stop. Nobody complained because, frankly, they were too busy batting bugs. I mean, literally swarming your head.
For those of you who are not familiar with hiking, the average hiking speed for an adult is 2 miles.
It's 20 minutes a mile,
Yeah,
basically.
it's 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
you were cruising.
The whips were at our heels. Like, kids were like, we're done. We want to go home for lunch. And one of the rules I have when I work with kids is that everything they say has to be positive. Like, they'll be like paddling up. They'll be like, I love being wet and tired. And, you know, I know that you're tired and you want to go back or you want to eat or whatever. So the kids were like, we love hating black flies. And I was like, join the club. So, yeah, so that was pretty intense today. Where was I going with that?
We were just talking about being outside.
Being outside. It's a misery right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's why I've been cranking it out, trying to get everything in the ground before they get even worse.
Yeah, because they will get worse. And then you have this kind of phase of black flies, and then you go into a phase of mosquitoes. And black flies like running water, and mosquitoes like still water. Yeah. So...
as awful as black flies are, I prefer them over mosquitoes because they go to the windows when you're inside.
Yeah, I use a vacuum cleaner to suck them up out of the windows. And then sometimes there's so many, and you can smell the tang of blood. This is kind of another hideous story. We're really good. We're really good with the hideous horror stories because they're biting the dogs, and they're little. So you suck them up, and you can smell that. There's a specific smell. I haven't had to do the vacuum cleaner in a year. Like I didn't have to do it. Yeah. I didn't have to do it last year. They weren't that bad. But 2 years ago, I thought I was like in Mrs. Mike. If you haven't read that book, you should go read it. It's about a woman an 18-year-old, and she takes a train in like the 1890s out to the Yukon Territory, and she falls in love with a Canadian Mountie and marries him. But I felt like Mrs. Mike. Like I was like, I married the ranger, and I came up here, and I thought it was all going to be great. And then the black flies hit, and I like went crazy. So I don't garden. Period. And if you've watched Fiberista Files, she talks a little bit about this as well. So, yeah. So it was a busy day with fourth graders. We were very happy to get back to lunch and the shelter of the rec hall. So, yeah. So we have a couple ideas for what might be coming. What might be coming in the future, and. Anything else we need to add to that section?
I think that's it. I think that's all my goods.
Yeah, we'll transition out. The only acquisition I have, which is amazing, I know, was last week I was the winner of the Bling Your String. She has a monthly giveaway. You can just submit all your finished projects for whatever month it is, for example, the month of May. And she does a drawing, and I won, and I was so thrilled to be the winner. And you get custom stitch markers. And so she asked me what I like and what colors I liked and what size I wanted. And I asked for the micro size, which is for up to size 4. And I was like, I like dogs, I like canoeing, and I like blue, and I like skiing. I gave her a couple different thematic topics. And this is what came to my door. I don't know if that's going to come out. Camera? No. Yes? Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of. Anyway, that little silver dangly bit is a little dog, and then the blue stitch markers.
They're very pretty.
So you should check her out. She also does bags, and she has a shop. She has a bag of the month club, or a I don't know if it's bag of the month or if it's but it's a club. And her stuff is really sweet and very, very thoughtful. So go ahead and check her out. Bling Your String. She's out of Canada, and she is coming to the Highlands on the Fly retreat. She's a vendor there, and she teaches a stitch marker class. So if you have any interest in doing that, you can check that out at neoc.com for Highlands on the Fly. Or you can take a look at the Highlands on the Fly group on RAV. So, Morgan, let's get to the meat. We've done the knitting. No pun intended, of course. We're going to talk about coyotes.
We are.
although they are omnivores. So we decided to call this sometimes I get a little bit tripped up on it because there's a lot of M's.
There is alliteration.
But there's a lot of alliteration. But this is Morgan's Mega Fauna Minute. And yes, I'm going to be like...
coming at you live.
I'm going to be like, who was it? Wild Kingdom. There was Jim, and then who was Jim's sidekick? He's always like, Rusty, go battle that crocodile over there and show us. Of course, you're a little bit young for that. Anyway, if you remember Wild Kingdom, Marty Stouffer's Wild Kingdom, maybe there was two that I used to watch. And this one guy, Jim, always had a sidekick that had to go move the lion so we could see the babies or whatever it was. So anyway, we had generated a little bit of interest when we talked about predator-friendly yarns, and I got a little bit on my soapbox, about some of the backlash that coyotes receive in this state. So I asked Morgan, with her wildlife background, to maybe do a segment about the megafauna, and she can explain what that means, in the state, predominantly for this episode on coyotes. And I think we're going to have this segment again.
Yeah.
As it pertains to what we're talking about. Textiles and Time will be back next week, and then we may alternate between Morgan's Mega Fauna Minute and Textiles and Time. So just to kind of
mix things
spice it up a
Keep you
little
on
bit.
your feet.
So I'm going to hand it over to Morgan, and not before I reach. Can you pass me my knitting?
Yes.
Although I am going to talk to you a little bit while you talk about
you are.
coyotes.
Yes.
So take it away.
Take it away. So. We started talking about coyotes because in terms of predator-friendly, that's pretty much our numero uno predator in the state. And
we were talking about predator-friendly yarns.
Predator-friendly yarns, yeah. And it pretty much came up that I thought that was really cool because one, I had never heard of predator-friendly yarns, and two, as a deer hunter, managing coyote populations comes up in conversation a lot. Whether it's an argument with other members of my family.
Anything about that.
Or people just generally curious as to the actual effects of the coyote population in Maine. So, Maine didn't always have coyotes, actually. Coyotes came into Maine in the 1930s. Before then, we had actually had wolves. And so wolves were extirpated from the state of Maine, and coyotes came in and took over that niche. But coyotes are much more adaptable than wolves are, and so that's why they've actually grown in numbers and done really well, and are pretty much found in every habitat in every part of the state.
They're like, so we had talked a little bit about this. I used this word extirpated.
Extirpated.
When did I use that word?
When we were talking about...
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah.
So did we define it last time?
I can define it again. Extirpated means they are extinct in a specific area. So we have no wolves, excuse me, we have no breeding population of wolves in Maine. We're going to stay away from anything.
No, it's tender hooks. It's tender hooks.
It really is.
But.
So anyways, we have no breeding population of wolves in Maine. In come the coyotes. They are taking over the same dominant canine niche that the wolves had previously held.
Okay,
we're tracking. So, why have coyotes done better in Maine than wolves?
I don't know.
So, all right, we're going to talk about that.
That's why it's the Mega Fauna Minute with Morgan.
That is why. And we're actually going to, just so you know where we're going with this, we're going to talk about specifically farmers in Maine and their interaction with coyotes. So, coyotes and wolves, although both top canines, they are very different, not only in size, but also behavior and lifestyle. So coyotes are significantly smaller than wolves. They're 30 to 35 pounds. Males way larger than females, but it's rare for males to get above 45 pounds. So they're fairly small.
And just to put that in perspective for our viewers, how much does your cat Charlie weigh?
My cat Charlie weighs 23 pounds. And I love every ounce.
Yes, we do.
So yeah, that's only 7 pounds more than my kitty Charles.
Yeah, so Charles could potentially be.
And that's why he's still alive.
That's
today.
right. That's true. Because they do predate on cats.
Small mammals, yes.
Yeah.
So coyotes have a completely different lifestyle than wolves. Wolves are a pack animal, and coyotes are family oriented. They couple up and stay with their significant other for many years, if not their whole life. So, and they do everything from hunting together, they breed together, and they also raise the pups together, which is different than in a pack, because in the pack you have the alpha dog who breeds with all of the females. So that is one difference there. How this comes into play in terms of their success as a species is coyotes have family territories. So only coyotes who have a family have a territory. The lone coyotes don't have a territory. They're floaters. They wander.
Right.
And so the more coyotes, the more competition for space and territory. That makes sense. There's only so much space. There's only so much food. The females typically give birth to a litter of about 4 pups, and it's between March and May, and that's typically when the majority of human coyote conflicts occur, because there's a larger demand for food.
But when you say conflict, you're not saying that they like
attack humans.
No, they don't steal my babies.
No, not your babies.
Not my babies.
Never. That's when you're going to have coyotes. Could be getting into your coop.
Right.
Could be getting into your trash.
So we just want
so on and so forth. That any kind of conflict like that. I believe we looked it up, and there hasn't been an attack on a human from a coyote in the state of Maine.
Correct.
Yet. Who knows?
Well, we all know how that usually goes down.
Yes. So that's typically when the majority of human coyote conflicts occur. Where was I going from here? I was talking about litter size.
Yeah, you're talking about why they're so well adapted.
Yeah. So, like I previously just said, sorry, this is going to be choppy.
Family units.
Family units, 4 pups in a litter. Unfortunately, the majority of pups don't survive the first year. And once again, that's just due to space and the amount of food that's available. So, where does hunting and trapping come in? Hunters and trappers, which coyotes are legal to hunt in the state of Maine.
Year-round.
Yeah, you have to have a license, obviously. So say you are successful in your hunt. There's one less coyote down. There's one less coyote now in the population. And if that coyote was part of a breeding pair, the breeding pair is now separated. The female has to find another male, so she moves on. That space is now open for more coyotes to move in. So this means more space and more food, which means larger litters and more success of the pups born of the litter, which it means
more coyotes.
More coyotes. So
rocket science.
So whenever it's just something that a lot of people associate coyotes with wolves, and they're completely different because wolves are a pack animal. If the alpha male is taken down and another alpha male assumes the position,
comes into power.
Many of you may know this because a lot of pack animals do this. The new alpha male will actually kill off the young that were conceived by the previous alpha male. It's called infanticide. And so they actually manage their own population.
That's right.
Right. So coyotes don't do that. Every once in a while, coyotes from one family will kill pups from another. I guess it is extremely rare just because they are really good about their territories. And I believe the majority of that is floaters.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. So that is why coyotes have done so well in the state of Maine. It's just something really coming from a family of deer hunters who don't share my views.
That's an understatement.
No, yes it is. I think it's something that is unknown, and in terms of farmers in the state of Maine, not even in the state of Maine, farmers everywhere, if you have coyotes, here's some information for you. Not all coyotes attack livestock. Coyotes eat small mammals, mice, voles, woodchucks. If you have a coyote on your property and it has not attacked any livestock yet, the recommendation in the state of Maine is to leave it. Because if you kill a coyote that has not attacked your livestock, you've opened up that space and that territory for other coyotes to move in, coyotes who may kill livestock. And through observations with Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, they determined that the majority of coyotes killing livestock were coyotes that had become habituated to humans. And those are the coyotes that are going into campgrounds, going through your trash. They're not scared of humans anymore, and so they're willing to take that risk in killing your livestock. And so if you have a coyote that hasn't made a move, the recommendation is to leave it.
And it's true. I mean, when I was farming my sheep down in southern Maine, we had lost sheep to coyote kills on our property. But 10 miles away, I had a friend who never lost a sheep to a coyote and had, families running that perimeter of her sheep fence and hadn't lost one. So it really can be differentiated just like that. So you already kind of know that's part of the reason I got the dogs. So yeah.
So it's always good to know a little bit about what's around you, and I think that they just are so misunderstood. Yes. Not only behavior, but also the biology and ecology of the coyote is also misunderstood. And I think the initial instinct is it's a threat, get rid of it.
Yep.
And now you know a little bit about why that doesn't work. And that it could benefit you to have a coyote around your place. If it's not doing any harm, what it is it's taking up space that a coyote that would do harm could potentially inhabit.
Right. Or it's taking up space so the population will manage itself.
Yes.
So it's kind of like the more you kill, the more you get. You're never going to eradicate this population.
I believe, and these statistics are coming from the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, it said if you killed off 75% of the coyote population every year for 50 years, you would not decimate coyotes. They would
they're
return. They would
amazingly resilient.
Yes.
That's what makes them... I mean, I think sometimes these populations, because they're identified as pests, whether they're rats or rabbits or whatever, these kind of fast-producing populations, one thing this is really amazing about them is their ability to manage their own population and their ability to bounce back. I mean, that's the key, right? I mean, if you're going to subscribe to Darwinism in this particular conversation...
Right.
They've unlocked it. So wolves, on the other hand, a much more fragile species, much higher to the top, the apical top of the predator list. And so because they're higher to the top, they have less flexibility within their environment, which is why they tend to be a little bit more susceptible to eradication and extirpation. So there is chat within this state that we have a rogue population of wolves that are coming down through Quebec. But as Morgan mentioned, when she was talking about breeding population, that's what creates a conversation about do you have this demographic species of species in your state. Just because you have wanderers or males that are being kicked out of other territories hanging around in your state does not mean you have a breeding population.
Right.
But we do potentially have wolves, and we also have wolves that are crossbreeding with our coyote population.
And coyotes that can crossbreed
with wolves
dogs
as well. So I don't want you to see that's just a one-way street with them.
Right. And next time on Morgan's Mega Fauna, we're going to be talking about the potential for for mountain lions
Yes.
in Maine. And for those
Fascinating.
from those of you hailing from states that have mountain lions, you may be like, oh, brother.
Yeah.
But for us, it's extremely exciting, and not just in a I might get to see a mountain lion exciting
Which
kind
I'm
of way.
not really sure that would be exciting.
But exciting in a, we used to have mountain lions. They were also extirpated from the state of Maine. And the fact that they're returning says a lot about the state of our environment.
Yes.
It means that we are slowly getting back to, actually, not even getting back. We have a very large amount of mountain lion habitat, but the females, we're going to get into that.
Yes, next time on the Mega Fauna
We'll
Minute.
get into it
And just quickly, we're kind of going off on the predator tangent because of predator-friendly yarns. And that's a little bit of some of the excitement in the yarn world is that, you know.
It's another layer of
Yeah.
something to think about and consider, and
So,
something that I didn't even know existed
yeah.
and really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, predators are typically underestimated. But megafauna means
Mega fauna, they're your large animals.
large animals. So.
The sexy species, if you will.
But the things people want to go study.
Yeah, the things that people, you know.
It's not voles. You're not sitting there watching voles. You're like tagging bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is what megafauna is. So
Yeah. So, you know, Fern has quieted down. Obviously, whatever was pacing outside our window has moved on. But that was the main goal of those dogs, as you may know. So, so the Mega Fauna Minute will be back in 2 weeks.
Sounds great.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully,
Learn something.
Yeah, something of interest. We don't necessarily ask you to agree. This is just strictly out there for consideration and reflection. You can choose to reflect in a non-reflective. You don't have to reflect what we reflect, put it that way.
Yes, and if you don't agree, that is totally fine. You are
hanging out with like 90% of the main population.
Yeah, that's okay.
So feel good about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, we're used to that.
It's
We
okay.
both come. I mean, my husband's a hunter. Morgan's a hunter family, and we live in a predominantly hunter-friendly environment.
Yes.
Yeah, in the northern part of the state. So, so transitioning from predator-friendly yarns, we are going to be on Sunday meeting with Nanny Kennedy at Meadowcroft Farm, who I'm sure will have something to say about predators. And she was none too shy about that. But we're going to be meeting with Nanny, and we're going to be talking about her dyeing methods, and we're going to be visiting with her lambs. I'm also contacted Marcia McDonald of Long Plains Alpaca Farm, and she's going to be hopefully doing some natural dyeing with us. So we're going to have kind of a multiple episode, if you will, or a multiple story episode looking at different dyeing methods and farming methods and different animals in the state. So that's still kind of evolving with Tyler and I, exactly the arc we want to take with that. That's my new lingo.
I like
the
it.
arc.
I like it.
So, so I've got a really busy weekend coming up for Fiber Trek. Tyler plans to release, as I said last week, he plans to release the new episode at the end of the month of May. We're really excited about it, and so please watch for that on YouTube and post on the blog. I think it's a fond farewell. Yeah, so we hope we've given you a little bit of fodder to think about, whether it's knitting or
Otherwise,
coyote estrus.
coyote estrus.
Whatever makes you, it's all out there in this one episode of Fiber Trek.
Education, information's information.
Information is information.
It's good to get it, process it how you will, do with it what you want.
Yeah. Pass it along.
Pass it along.
I think Morgan's going to be, hopefully, attending the Fiber Frolic with me, my mom, and Rob, and my best friend Anne from Washington State will be coming out. So we'll be there at the Fiber Frolic. If you're going to be joining us, please come talk to me. I've got pins, and I'm not very good about going up and handing out stuff. So go ahead, tap on my shoulder, ask for a card, ask for a pin, introduce yourself, talk to me. That would be great. My mom talks to anybody, and she's very friendly. So feel free to come up to the group. We'll always try to not be very intimidating. We're not intimidating. But don't talk about coyotes.
Yeah. Unless you want more information.
More information.
Always willing to give out more information.
Morgan's a little bit more diplomatic than I am about the whole thing. So,
I'm used to it.
Yeah, I know.
I have lived with my dad.
I know.
Well, I don't live with my dad,
but
I
you
have to live with my dad.
With Dad's philosophical
Yes.
roots.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad. He will be watching this. So.
He's probably cursing at us right now.
He is.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram as FiberTrekTV, on our website, fibertrektv.com. You can certainly email me at fibertrek@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. And the blog, fibertrek.wordpress.com. All of that is at the very end credits. If you've made it this far, kudos to you. Yeah, so the only other thing I thought I would add is I've really enjoyed a couple of podcasts the past couple of days, and that's Stashless. And we both love Stashless because she is infectious. And if you haven't watched her, just go watch her just for the laughing herself and the end when she shows her dogs doing something ridiculous. We love that.
I love Stashless.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put it on the record.
Yeah.
It needs to be said. Anyone, you can watch anything about anything from anyone and it could be awful, even if it's something you love. And vice versa. It can be something I know nothing about, but if the person telling me the information is so excited about it.
And she is.
And she is. And I love it because you should be excited about it.
It
It's exciting.
Yeah,
It's exciting.
It's infectious. So.
And if you spend so much time and money on this one thing, you should love it.
And she does.
And she does. And that's what I love about
We love it. We love Stashless. So you can you can type Stashless in, Stashless Podcast right into YouTube. And I think infectious is the best word to describe that. Enthusiastically infectious. I found a new podcast from Britain called the Barmy Girls, the Barmy Girls. And they're just fun. I've listened to 2 episodes of theirs, and I like listening to episodes from Britain because it broadens my perspective of some of the yarns that are out there, or the yarn experiences, or what people are knitting, or just the different cultural experience of fiber in another country. And then, so happy to report, which you may already know because it's been a couple months, but Cast On is back on, which was my first podcast I ever listened to with Brenda Dane. Highly recommend it. Exceptionally well done, helpful in so many ways, whether it's technique or offering up information to reflect on. That's been kind of a running theme for us, but that's what I really look for. I want somebody to ask me a question or put information out there that makes me think, even if it's not something that I necessarily want to think about all the time, like Coyotes. But Brenda does a really nice job. Her show is laid out in a really nice progressive way, and she does interspersed music in there. I don't know if you can hear my dog, but he's streaming. It must be all the coyote talk.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
So if you have a chance and you want to branch out from FiberTrek, you can check out Stashless, the Barmy Girls, or Cast On. Barmy Girls and Cast On are both audio, and Stashless is a video. So until next time, my friends, a fond farewell.